Call this meeting to order. The time is now 5:15. This regular board meeting for May 21st, 2026. First item on our agenda tonight is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, as it is in all perfect friendship among our cultures. Next item on our agenda is roll call. Roll call, please.
Board Member Dennis Romero. Present. Board Member Mrs. Elaine Martinez Gonzalez. Board Secretary Dr. Joyce Mazur. Present. Board Vice President Dr. Kimberly Leah. Present. Board President Paul Gonzalez.
Present. We have a quorum. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda. Under item 11, new business, if we can order it items C, B, and A, we could have HOSA out-of-state travel first, then the audit review and approval, and then the 5-year facility master plan review and approval.
I have a motion to amend the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Dr. Mazur. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor of amending the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion to amend the agenda is approved. Next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. I believe we could do a consent. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the March 26th regular board meeting, April 16th regular board meeting, and April 21st special board meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the March 26th, April 16th, and April 21st, 2026 board meetings.
I have a motion by Dr. Leah. I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is public input. We have no public input this evening. Next item on our agenda is our finance report. Ms. Hanna?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I am recommending approval of the finance report and consent agenda items as presented this evening.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr.
do we
Romero.
not have a report from the finance committee? Still,
We do.
Thank you, President Gonzalez. The Finance Committee met on Tuesday, May 19th. The April 2026 financial reports for the general and student activity accounts, were reviewed as follows. The operating and activity bank reports, the accounts payable and check listing, the revenue and expenditure reports, the purchase orders that have been issued, the payroll journal report, the fund balance report, the pledge collateral report, and the GoFan activity. The bars for approval were as follows: 0039 in the amount of $66,000+, bar number 0040 in the amount of $16,575, bar 0043 in the amount of $330.84, bar 0044 in the amount of $32,381, bar 0045 in the amount of $150,000, Bar 0046 in the amount of $3,522.21. And in addition to these bars presented, we also discussed and are recommending the approval of a blanket bar approval for our end of fiscal year. There were no donations over $5,000 to report, and the recommendation of the Finance Committee is to approve the financial reports in the bars for April 2026.
Upon the recommendation of the Finance Committee and our Superintendent, I would like to make a motion that we approve consent items A, B, and C. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a second by Dr. Blair. All in favor?
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Amaro.
Madam Superintendent, I did see it on there on the report, but if it was there, if you can point it out to me, if it wasn't there, maybe for the next meeting, can you see a year-to-date on what we spent on the K-12 company that we've hired?
I don't believe it's on there, so we can get that for you in the next report, at least year to date.
Thank you, Mr. Amaro. Any other questions? So a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the consent items A, B, and C, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Majority passes. Motion passes with majority vote. Thank you so much. Next item on our agenda will be presentations. Hold on. So,
Yeah, some
no
presentations.
presentations for under that item. No business.
Correct.
So next item on our agenda is our new business discussion action, and we are going to be starting with item C tonight, HOSA out-of-state travel. Brittany Magnus.
Hello, good evening, Board and Superintendent. Thank you guys for having us.
I'm
we
sorry,
are-
we have you step to the microphone just so that we can hear you on there.
Oh,
Thank you.
right. So we are here today to ask for out-of-state approval for our HOSA kids. They want to attend, they qualified for internationals in Indianapolis. And so we are asking for approval to attend out of state and also for financial support with that travel. And today, let me introduce them. I have Emilio Martinez, and go ahead and tell them what you are.
Mary Martinez, and I'm competing in First Step Health Careers.
We have Austin Nahad.
I'm doing First Step.
We have Ariana Gonzalez, sorry. Ariana Gonzalez. And then we have Julian Jaramillo.
Getting a First Step Health Careers Skills.
Ms. Madison, can you indicate the grade level of these students?
Yes, so they are all in 7th grade. I do have a few more that I will tell you. I have Destiny Romero and Evelina Valdez. They are 8th graders, and they took 2nd place at state, and they are competing in First Step Career Skills. And then we have Zoe Sandoval, who is competing with Ariana Gonzalez. They took 3rd place at state, and they are competing in Exploring Medical Innovations, and they are 7th graders. And then I have Lily Ledoux and Lily Peacock, who took 4th place at state in Dynamic Decisions, and they are both 8th graders. And then I have Austin Nahad, Emilio Martinez, Julian Jaramillo, and Ethan Toronto, who took 4th place at state, and they are competing in First Step Career Skills. And they are also 7th graders.
Did I count a total of 9 students?
10.
10 students.
Students.
So I know, Ms. Valdez, you're asking for some financial support as well. What fundraising did you guys conduct, and can you please explain to me a little bit about it here?
So far they have done a calendar fundraiser, and they did some school dances. They have fundraised, and I believe that money is still in their account. I'm still waiting to hear back to see what the account value is right now, how much money is in their account, but that's what they've done so far.
So they have done some fundraising?
Yes, they have
Quite a bit
done
of
some.
fundraising, it sounds like. Any questions going forward? Any clarifying responses?
I just want to inform the board that this is the first year that HOSA exists at our middle school. So I want to commend Ms. Mares and the students for their hard work, and, you know, going to nationals first year is amazing. So good job to you all. But I do recommend out-of-state travel for these students and staff members as sponsors. And I would recommend also that we support them as we have our other clubs and athletics, so to meet that same qualification.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Romero.
excuse me. I'd like to make a motion that we approve out-of-state travel for the HOSA, and also that we offer $100 per student up to 10, so $1,000, and the bus driver. I think I'd be right fine.
Yes,
So
we
to
would
get to
have,
the airport and back.
yeah, we would have to take a bus to the airport and then, of course, a bus back from the airport.
Yeah, that's what we have offered here.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Romero, a second by Dr. Blea to approve out-of-state travel and provide financial support of $100 per student.
Up to 10.
Up to 10. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you for being here tonight, and congratulations on making it, and good luck at your competitions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The trip is June 16th through the 21st. So it starts in the morning at 8 o'clock, so I'm thinking we would have to depart the day before, and then it ends at night at 12 a.m. So we would have to leave the day after. So if with leaving and then returning, it would be June 15th to June 21st. And I do have, I brought agendas, just, yes. I put all the daily agendas in here. Financial commerce details, like after registration fees. At the end, it's just the registration. Both copies? I need 2 copies.
Good to go?
They still have audio. It's not video.
And just a reminder, Mr. President, board members, that we clear audio for our virtual audience. And then as well as our speakers, if you go up, if you can speak closely into the microphone, or you can take it off if it's stamped to be a little louder.
It's just a second, I'm a little delayed. We have to make sure our live stream is. That's what I'm going to do.
Mr. Chair, the audio is still working, so I think maybe you better have a visual that maybe you're okay with that. Oh, it is working, sorry.
So we're back. So next item on our agenda this evening would be new business item B, the school year 2024-2025 audit review and approval. Superintendent.
Mr. Chair, present to you JAG, Jaramillo Accounting Group, to present the 24-25 audit.
Good evening, Board. Board President and Superintendent. My name is Scott Eliason. I'm a partner with Jaramillo Accounting Group, and we're here to talk about the results of the annual audit from this last year. And I think we're about 40 days away from the end of this fiscal year, and a new audit will start up here pretty soon. So everybody loves audit time, I know that. And so I think the board membership received a copy of the financial statements, 120 pages long. I'm sure that the board has read every single page of the report. It's a good reading, especially late at night. But there's just some things that I'm going to go ahead and talk about here as it relates to the requirements under the state audit rule. So the state audit rule says that after the report is released, the auditor is required to discuss the results of the audit to governance in an open meeting. And so I see the financial statements up here. And we're not, I promise we're not going to go through all 120 pages because we'd be here all night. I know there's probably at least one person up here that would, maybe Melissa would like us to go through all 120 pages, but I promise we'll go through some of the high points required under the audit rule that wants us to talk about the results of the audit. The first place I'm going to start is with the audit opinion itself. And if we scroll down a few pages, I think we'll see the audit opinion. Once we get past the table of contents and the official roster, we have the audit opinion. So here's the opinion right here. Just one thing to note, that the audit opinion itself is there's actually two opinions. We have a qualified opinion on the government-wide or governmental activities, and it's qualified because we could not get enough audit evidence as a result that relates to capital assets, and so that became an audit finding. We had to qualify our opinion that says except for capital assets. And so Luis is going to go through the findings after I go through some of the required communication, and he's going to talk about a finding that drove that qualified opinion. A couple other things to talk about as it relates to that audit opinion itself, a couple of takeaways. If you scroll down a little bit further, we talk about management's responsibilities here, and looks like we went past it, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk. So the opinion itself covers about 4 pages, and the other couple takeaways would be that management has a responsibility, and that responsibility is to design an effective internal control structure and to take responsibility for the financial statements themselves. And the auditor has a responsibility, and that's to be independent of the organization, in this case the school district, and also in this case, of course, assist in preparation of financial statements, but really to provide our opinions based on the audit evidence. So we're ultimately responsible for ensuring we've done the appropriate test work to get to our audit opinion. And so when we talk about test work overall, I would look at these financial statements as sort of 3 separate audits. So we have the audit of the financial statements themselves, and then we have a separate audit of the federal award programs. And there's about $2.5 million in federal awards that the district received during the year under audit. And the third piece is the compliance under the state audit rule. So the state audit rule has a number of tests that the auditor is to go through based on the type of entity and how it applies. So in this case, we have, for example, the School Personnel Act. So all the school districts have to follow the School Personnel Act, and sometimes that results in a finding or findings related to non-compliance with specific provisions of the School Personnel Act. We also have things like procurement, as you would guess. There is going to be a requirement for the auditors to test procurement, make sure you're following the appropriate procurement guidelines of the state and also internally of the district. We'll also have some additional guidelines layered on top of that they follow. Mileage and per diem, we look at the ERB and RHCA payments. If you've got gas cards, we look at compliance there with the policies that the district has. So there's probably about 10 different tests of compliance under the state audit rule. We do, as part of the audit process, we look at the internal control structure, and by look at it, we walk it through, and we've identified, I would say, probably 4 or 5 different major transaction cycles. So you got the cash receiving transaction cycle. We'll walk through that, make sure that the appropriate controls are in place. We'll do the same thing with the operating disbursement transaction cycle, payroll transaction cycle. We have a financial close and reporting transaction cycle, which would be bank reconciliations and journal entries, and then maybe capital assets and debt would be layered on top of a couple of new additional transaction cycles. So we walk through and test the major transaction cycles. Of course, the account balance work. So we try to do this work in the summer before the books are closed out. And then once the books are closed out, of course, then we can start the financial statement audit. And that's what, most of this 120 pages is the financial statement audit. And that's because there are so many individual funds. So the district has some major funds presented up front based on size criteria, and then there's footnotes, and then behind that will be a whole bunch of minor funds. Well, school districts have a lot of minor sized funds because they have so many different funding sources that has a separate balance sheet and income statement. So that's what makes this financial statements 100 plus pages for virtually every school district, and if you get into the bigger school districts, it's even more pages. But I think the takeaway would be, all the activity and balances of the district are presented in here. There's some upfront schedules that pick up full accrual amounts with debt and capital assets and compensated absences. And then there's the fund statements, which are on a modified accrual basis, picking up receivables and payables. So there's just, I think the thing to recognize is there's some different things in here. One observation, and I'm sure you're well aware of this, but you look at the general fund at year end, and the general fund is responsible for loaning cash to the what we call special revenue funds, because they operate on cost reimbursement, so they're always going negative a little bit. So at year end, we allocate cash to those funds that have the deficits because of the cost reimbursement nature. And at year end, the general fund only has $95,000 in it, which is not a lot of money for a district this size. I think you're probably well aware that there is a little bit of tightness on the cash. So hopefully that'll be something that you guys continue to work on to build up your cash reserves a bit. So that's just an observation. That's a pretty small number once all the funds are loaned, the cash. We do have, of course, the federal awards, and we did do a federal awards audit. I know that we picked up the child nutrition program as part of the federal awards testing. That's in here. And we have, as I mentioned, the opinion up front, then the opinion in the back for the federal awards, for which we're issuing an unmodified clean opinion on the federal awards. We do have a finding related to federal awards, and Louise is going to go over the findings here in just a bit. But and then I think that Vanessa, if she can, if she's online, I think she's going to respond to the corrective action of those findings and the status of that, of those findings. So I think, if you're just looking, if we just had 30 seconds, I would flip to page 103. And 103 just gives you a high-level overview of the results of the audit. And We call it the schedule of findings and question costs because behind this are the findings and any question cost. And this schedule just summarizes the audit results. And so you look at this, for example, the auditor's report, I mentioned there was a qualification. So and, on the entity-wide, because of the capital assets and then the rest of the funds are unmodified or clean. There is some material weakness identified related to capital assets. Louise is going to talk about that. There's some significant deficiencies. There's also the federal awards findings, for which we have one that's required to be reported. And we did the child nutrition cluster, which I talked about, and also Title I was another federal program that was audited. And the district was not a low-risk auditee because in the prior year there was material weakness related to the ERB internal control weakness that we know that this is the second year that'll be reported. And so I think I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Louise to go through the findings, and then he'll go through he'll summarize the condition, and then he'll go ahead and summarize the recommendation, and then Vanessa, if we can get communication that'll work, she'll go through the corrective action and sort of the status of where the findings at. So we have 10 findings. 3 of the findings are really lower level findings findings 8, 9, and 10. Those would not, in other states, that would be in a separate management letter that would not be in the financial statements, but the state auditor requires that virtually all findings that we have, lower level control deficiencies or sort of lower level compliance issues, they all have to be reported in the financial statements. So in the prior year, there were 3 findings. 2 of those were resolved. The B was repeated, and we have 10 findings. So over that, Louise, you want to take it away, Louise?
Do you want to talk to the accountancy deficit?
Oh, yes, one more thing. So when it comes to accounting policies, the district has accounting policies, and they're in a footnote here, probably note 1 or note 2, that covers a number of pages. And those are pretty consistent with the prior year, with one exception. There was a new accounting standard, GASB 101. I was really hoping they would stop at 100, but they just keep going. It's the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. So we have GASB 103 to adopt this year, which changes some presentation and disclosure. But this last year we had 101 and 102. 102 was on some risk disclosures, but it did not apply to the district. So 101 was uncompensated absences, and that required, by adoption of this accounting standard, the district had to record an additional liability on the full accrual statements for about $1.1 million related to sick leave and the estimated use of sick leave in the future. Even though sick leave doesn't necessarily get paid out at the end, there's an estimate that is required now for all governments, and a couple of the school districts we did have like $10 million adjustments, but the smaller districts are probably closer to $1 million. Doesn't mean there's a cash outlay, it just means that the individual that earned that sick leave and takes it in the future, and that's just a requirement to ensure that we pick up the expense of giving up the sick leave, the non-productivity of the day that happens when they take the sick leave. So that's just one new standard that we're required to just discuss it briefly. So I'm going to go ahead, unless you guys want to go through the numbers in deep deal, anybody want to go a deep dive on the numbers? If not, I'm going to turn it over to Luis, and he's going to go ahead and just go through each of the 10 findings with Vanessa's response.
Good afternoon, everyone. Paul, board president, vice president, and superintendent, and board members. I just want to double check, is Vanessa hearing me right now?
She is, yes, sir.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, I'm sorry to share the bad news. I know last year we had 3 findings. This year there's going to be 10. So once again, I apologize for sharing the bad news. So finding number 1, it's going to be in page 104. So I don't know if you want to. Scroll down to, oh, it's because, okay, I see. So it will be 104 as in like the page number, not the PDF. They're like at 95 right there. So can you please scroll down. Four more pages. Okay, there it is. If you want to scroll up, just one more page. That's perfect. All right, well, the first one, it's the inadequate controls over capital asset management and reporting. For this type of finding, we assessed material weakness because, well, every year you're supposed to conduct a formal count of inventory. In this case, the balances were just simply rolled without any formal count. When we requested the records for capital assets, there was a big difference. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read a bit of it. During our review of the capital asset records and related processes, we identified significant weaknesses in management tracking and reporting capital assets. Finance director stated that the district had not conducted a formal count. This required physical inventory count in several years, and no documented verification of asset existence or condition was available. So aside from that, the district was unable to provide a complete and detailed capital asset listing that included historical costs, accumulated depreciation, and net book value, as had been provided in prior years. The absence of a reconciled asset listing prevented timely verification of capital balances and impaired the district's ability to demonstrate the accuracy and completeness of capital asset records. I think this is a part where hopefully Vanessa can just step in. I know there's already a corrective action plan for this.
Miss Vanessa, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so with this finding, you can see our response where we to start off, we're making sure that any current assets are classified correctly and also reconciled to the general record. However, with this finding, during the audit, that it was really difficult to find accurate records. We are doing the physical inventory, and there was one within last year, but previous to that, there was we could not find that. So specifically, the construction in progress is something that we are trying to reconcile and find records with. This was our biggest finding, and we do plan on working with an outside vendor, probably Palm County, to help us with this plan. But again, this goes back several years, and so it is going to be time consuming, but it is something we plan to reconcile, not by this hearing, but hopefully resolve.
If I may ask, there was a significant discrepancy in what could be accounted for and what could not. Can you share that with the board, please?
Sure. Wait. Is this working? Okay. All right. Perfect. Sorry. So I don't, to the top of my head, I don't have like the perfect amount given. It'll be around 800 or 700,000, I believe. Or was it like?
It was in the millions.
It was in the millions, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I don't remember that well. I apologize for that. And the financials, if I just look here. So many funds. Apologize.
And if I remember correctly, it was about a $7 million discrepancy.
That's right. Near the sevens.
with regards to the inventory that has been identified that was in the district or is in the district in comparison to what is on the books.
Yes, and a little backstory regarding that, if you mind. So it appears that some of the assets were not counted properly. Now, I don't know if you heard Vanessa, but something that I discussed with her was that she was working with K-12 already to figure all that out. So it's moving along. And so, yeah, it was a big number. At first we thought, oh my God, did someone just simply steal all those assets or what's going on, right? But, well, it's being tracked down. I believe it was like misrecorded, something like that. I mean, that's why we gave a qualified opinion regarding those matters. Ultimately, the assets were just all over. You have a bunch of schools, so it's mainly tough to count. Now with K-12, I believe it's going to be a more presentable asset.
And last school year, we did hire an inventory firm to come in, so they're coming in and tracking those assets for us. So it is 2 years right now that is being tracked, but we need to go back and find that discrepancy. So we are planning on working with K-12 for another recommended firm to help us close that gap.
And just to conclude this finding, so there's this thing called CIP, which is construction in progress. That was the number one red flag we saw when we looked at it. We talked to Vanessa, hey, it seems like you have like millions of dollars in CIP. And that's when she said, well, there's like no construction, and that's odd. And that's what really brought the whole matter into effect, more like. But if you mind, I'm just going to go ahead and go to the second finding if you want to scroll down. So this one is a repeated finding. It's the ERB, internal controls weakness. So this finding was reported as 2024-002 as a material weakness. Fiscal year 2024, the district identified that several employees had been improperly classified as substitutes, and the district determined that prior period contributions totaling $513,884 and fiscal year 24 as well, contributing a total of $136,952 contributions that have not been submitted to ERB. So that required material adjustments to properly state liabilities and related expenditures. Now, for the update for fiscal year 25, management continued efforts to correct the prior year condition and reduce the estimated ERB liability from the prior year total. The classification for type of finding had been lowered to a significant deficiency as the result of current year progress. So for this one, even though we saw the repeated finding, it seems like you guys are working on it. Vanessa, if you want to go ahead and provide a management response. But in overall, in conclusion, you guys are working. The liability is now reduced. There's still liability, but you guys are actively working on it.
Liability, but I do,
Vanessa, can you repeat that? I'm sorry, we didn't catch that.
yes, and we said we're actively working with this, and I do expect it to be completed by this fiscal year with both the reporting and the payment.
Questions for Ms. Vanessa?
Could you hear me?
Yes, we did. We only have one ability to microphone, so we have to switch out every time.
No worries. So, I mean, just so that we're on the same page with numbers, it went from 513,000, pretty much 514,000 to 214,000. So that's pretty much half of it. So that's good, in my opinion. Just keep working through it, I guess. Number 3 is internal controls, deficiencies over cash receipts. So this is something that we saw when we were performing the walkthrough. So the walkthrough of the district's cash receipt process identified weaknesses in segregation of duties, documentation, and cash handling practices. So cash is handled by multiple individuals at schools and within the business office. But responsibilities are not consistently segregated, and access to cash and storage areas is not always limited to personnel without conflicting duties. So receipt issuance and documentation practices vary across sites, and controls prevent or detect skimming, and those are not formally established. So what we were seeing is that you guys handle cash. I mean, you get money from parents, whether if it's like online or cash, and then from there, there's like a receipt book that we just had trouble with. So there's, in every school, there's some person that handles the cash. That's in the main office, of course. And when we tested those, we tested a random sample of 50 cash receipts. 39 deposits lacked a signed bank deposit slip. So even though those seem to be, hitting the bank, we still didn't see the internal control procedure which you have in place as far as signing those deposit slips. And that's why we were just a bit shocked. I mean, from 50 samples, random samples, over like probably thousands. So 39 of those random samples had no signed slips, and that's just something that we should better as we go through the next years, for sure. Now, sorry, it's the time where we have to unplug the microphone. Thank you, Vanessa.
Go ahead, Ms. Vanessa, go ahead and give your response.
Yes, okay. We did change a lot of the, or we implemented the procedure at both sites. As you guys know, we're implementing GoFund did take care of the majority of the time handling. So that helped itself. Another change we made was the approval of cash postings or the deposits before they're posted. And so we with every school as well, the athletic department, to make sure that we is doing the same thing and we have those internal controls in place.
Thank you.
So it's kind of hard to ask this question to Vanessa, but like with you, we're not 100% cashless yet, correct?
Yeah, we're in transition.
Well, we're mostly there. Is certainly the direction of the district to go 100% cashless,
Correct.
including fundraisers and.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, just testing. All right, well, number 4, and Denise, I know you kind of look this one, so please don't get mad at me after hearing this. Anyway, this is number 4, internal control deficiencies in HR and payroll processes. So we gave this finding a significant deficiency because during our walkthrough of the district's HR and payroll processes, we identified several deficiencies in the design and operation of internal controls. Our walkthrough included inquiries with staff, review of documentation, and observation of system access and physical safeguards. We noted that payroll check stock is stored in a safe box, so that's good. However, the safe door remains open during payroll processing, and the finance director has access to the safe. This weakens segregation of duties and creates an increased risk of unauthorized access to check stock. So bottom line, just we don't want the wrong people in there. So it's just better to have it locked down unless you guys need it to be opened. Aside from that, I didn't see any cameras near, so that's just, I mean, I didn't include that in here, but that's just a bit scary, given that you have a lot of cameras. You see one right there. Aside from that, we also observed that the district processes payroll disbursements through its operating bank account rather than a separate payroll clearing account. So this structure limits segregation of financial activity and can reduce transparency and monitoring over payroll-related transactions. Additionally, payroll is processed with a 3-day lag between the end of the pay period and the pay date. although not necessarily non-compliant, his timing should be monitored and to obviously ensure they remains aligned with payroll laws and internal expectations. So yeah, there was a 3-day lag there. I thought it was odd, but Vanessa, once again, she is working. She saw that, she thought it was weird as well, and she already corrected it, if I'm not mistaken. So, thank you, Vanessa.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay. Yeah. With the access to the north, part of that was because I started serving in school at the time. But that does not happen now. So we have that. The other part with the camera, that is actually a good idea to do there as well. And I'm actually the one that found the lifetime payroll fees and the meetings, and I have since corrected it. So that has been.
So it has been addressed. We have cameras that were inoperable, but if you've seen a lot of activity going on across the district through our COPS grant, we are installing cameras, and we are actually having cameras installed by the end of the week, I think, is when they will be online here. That has been taken care of also.
All right. Just making sure. So finding number 5, that's going to be inadequate controls over document retention and destruction. So this was brought to us at the beginning when we were here on site. So when we were doing the walkthrough and review of record-keeping practices, we noted weak controls over document retention and destruction. So we received individual assertions that AP personnel were observed shredding documents, while we did not obtain evidence that the documents destroyed were subject to a legal hold or within required retention periods. The absence of a shredding authorization process, destruction logs, and supervisory review prevents the district from demonstrating that destruction complied with applicable retention requirements that did not involve records that should have been preserved. So yeah, this just is a bit alarming, but when we were looking through documentation, it seemed like nothing super crazy was shredded, still outside of practice. So I believe that action has already been taken upon this matter. If you want, we can skip Vanessa's response for this one. But I guess I believe this was already addressed. I mean, it was brought to us before we even stepped in this premise. So, and I know you have like this weird, scary room at the very bottom, the basement. I didn't want to step a foot in there, but that's where you have all the boxes. It smells weird, but I saw multiple boxes from like before I was born, I think. So,
Well, again, if I could just add something, just again, not being able to identify what documents were being shredded is certainly concerning. So again, obviously there's need to be processes put in place to make sure this doesn't happen in the future. But again, when I read our initial audit report, it's very concerning because again, not knowing what was being destroyed, it can be a big deal. But again, just obviously opinions for our teams moving forward so this doesn't happen again in the future.
that's good. So finding number 6, and this is something that we see a lot. We do this beautiful analysis, sort of my expertise, I'm just kidding. But we just look through all the funds, we look at the GL, and then we do this crazy analysis where we obtain all the funds over budget. And those 3 that you see in the exhibit right there were over budget, a total of $126,000. And yeah, well, I would just be more cautious when looking at the budgeted amounts of money with the actual expenditures. Try to not go over the expenditures, the budgeted amount, and well, just be a little more cautious regarding that. Vanessa already Per response here, it says, business manager will review expenditure reports monthly for every fund and function code to identify potential over expenditure before they occur. So that's something that's already been talked about with Vanessa, and she's been awesome and helping out with this matter so that you have more oversight regarding those budgets and expenditures. And by the way, this is not that bad, I do want to say. I've seen worse. Let's just put it that way. So finding number 7, if you mind. So this is regarding the child nutrition program that Scott was just talking about. So that we have significant deficiency in internal controls over compliance / other non-compliance. So while I was doing the walkthrough for the child nutrition program, I stepped in the kitchen and I asked the lady that was working there, hey, is it okay if I have your logs or how you count for this food, how many students? And she didn't have any sort of documentation to back that up. Matter of fact, she said that any remainder food can be allocated to professors, etc. I was a bit shocked. So I'll just read through this. Approximately 200 lunch trays are served daily and ingredients are received every 2 weeks and milk delivered weekly. However, canned goods, dried goods, and items stored in freezers are not tracked through any formal inventory procedures. So yeah, even though there's no formal sheet, I did see that there are like 200 trays, and they said that those are like all we serve. Not every student eats, of course. However, when I looked through the freezer, there's no count whatsoever. So that's just something to look to in detail. You don't want to have someone give food away without seeing it, of course. There's no cameras there either. So, and even though the ladies seem good people, once again, we have to just look at the numbers. So I apologize for sharing bad news, of course. This one, corrective action. The food service director will implement the federally required daily edit check process. This will include comparing daily meal counts against the attendance and enrollment figures to ensure that claims do not exceed the number of students present. Any discrepancies identified during this process will be investigated and documented prior to submission of the monthly claim. So once again, Vanessa is actively looking at addressing this so that there's more effectiveness and obviously an audit trail so that we can monitor that everything is good and that the district will ensure that all nutrition staff is trained on these procedures as well. All right, well, just get to the number 8, we're almost there. I'm glad you guys are still awake. Number 8, untimely and inaccurate financial reporting. So that was something that I was a bit shocked, nothing too crazy, but during our audit we noted deficiencies in the timeliness and accuracy of the district financials reporting. For discussion with Vanessa, the beginning balance submitted to fiscal year 25 cash report was incorrect and had been carried forward from the prior year's audit without proper verification. In addition, cash balances reported in the operating budget management system, OBMS, were inaccurately at the time of submission, although OBMS initially approved the reporting. So I thought that was weird. How can they just approve it like that? However, the district identified the errors and corrected the cash balances. So kudos to Vanessa for catching that. So her corrective action says beginning balances for fiscal year 26 will be independently verified by K-12 accounting management prior to submission in OBMS to ensure accuracy. So now you have a whole team that's going to help you. Once again, Vanessa is buckling down that matter, so that's good. Finding number, well, do you have any questions regarding that? Okay. Finding number 9, compliance with the School Personnel Act. This is something that we see a lot, actually. When we were testing the 5 new hires, they showed that none had completed the required substance abuse training within their first year of employment. Again, this is something that we see pretty often. Just make sure that the new hires have all the required trainings according with 22-10A-32 NMSA 1978. Additionally, 1 of 10 current employees did not have a valid background check on file at the time of audit testing, although the district later provided evidence of a background check completed on September 26, 2025. So just, obviously we have to make sure that everything is, we don't want to hire the bad people, right? One last point here is we also noted that 7 of 10 licensed employee contracts were executed after the start date of school year. So that is against the 22-10A-23B, which requires employment contracts to be executed at least 10 days prior to the first instructional day. So just make sure, I believe there's quite a few schools that have been through this same finding. Of course, they're moving to online or just like the online contracts where they can simply send it directly to them. It's sort of like a DocuSign. Now, for this matter, I believe just make sure that if the employee, because I believe you have teachers, right, that worked last year and the year before that, and for them it's just a repeated process. But I would still look into that matter. It's against that statute. I don't want to read it again, but yeah, it's just 10 days before start of the school year. And I get it. It's just kind of a weird pattern to have, but nonetheless against the code. Now, Vanessa responded with, to ensure compliance with the School Personnel Act, the district will integrate substance abuse training into the mandatory new hire orientation package. No new hire will be cleared for classroom instruction until certificates of completion for all statutory training modules are filed. The HR coordinator will perform a quarterly audit of all personnel files to ensure 100% training compliance. The district also updated its onboarding protocol to require a verified background check prior to an employee, volunteer, or contractor's first day of work. The district will move its contract issuance cycle to earlier in the spring and will implement an electronic signature system as an option to expedite the execution of licensed employee contracts, ensuring all agreements are signed at least 10 days prior to first instructional date. And then it also says they're going to formalize a new hire compliance checklist so that everything is in there, background checks, trainings, all that stuff. Okay, last finding. Whoop. Anyway, so internal control deficiencies over fuel card use. So this is something that we also see very common, but nonetheless something against the law. So during our discussions with district personnel, we were informed of isolated assertions alleging that district-issued fuel cards may have been used for personal vehicle fuel purchases, while no formal documentation supporting that these allegations was provided during the audit. We noted that there was room for improvement in existing controls over fuel card use. So just be more mindful of who has access to those fuel cards, make sure that they're not, because I've seen they charge the wrong fuel, and obviously that's against the statutes. So if you have a motor vehicle that only requires unleaded, there's no need for like the premium, of course, and we, yes, or diesel, as Scott with a big truck says, right? So yeah, let's just kind of be mindful of those for sure. And I haven't heard Vanessa in a minute. Just kidding. But yeah, she just simply says that the district has updated its procedures to eliminate unauthorized fuel card use and has closed all individual gas station accounts. So new fuel card use guidelines will be part of the standard operating procedures, strictly prohibiting personal use and establishing disciplinary actions for violations. And I'll pass these back to Scott.
I'll wrap things up here. So 10 audit findings seems like a lot of work. But I don't think any of these are insurmountable. Several of these findings will unfortunately repeat again, just by virtue of the fact that you didn't actually have notification that there was maybe a problem with a certain process or transaction cycle. It's already in the middle of the fiscal year by the time you get the information. And so to react on it, happens in January, February, so you put processes in place, but you've already got a good portion of the year where maybe some of the processes were not well designed or put together. But like I said, again, nothing's insurmountable here. I think if I sort of reflect on these findings, they sort of suggest that at least for some period of time there was maybe a lack of rigor in the way we did things here, in the processes. I'm happy to see the responses and the fact that Vanessa and the superintendent are working together to reduce and eliminate and improve these processes so there's sufficient rigor. So, certainly as a board, you want things to be working right and efficiently and transparent. And I think that by tackling these issues that we noted during the process of the audit will ultimately improve the district and ensure that they're following. There's a lot of compliance requirements, right? Ensure that they're appropriately following compliance and the internal control structure. There's some things, like the fuel card. Yeah, that was actually self-reported to us, but as we dug into it, we're like, yeah, this is a problem here. There's not sufficient process and control here, and who knows, maybe somebody's got fuel that they should not have. I think by putting these processes in place that will ultimately eliminate any sort of suspicion or concern about the process. So you really need to go through every transaction cycle, no matter how big or how small, to ensure that you've got appropriate segregation of duties, appropriate oversight, appropriate control. And I think by tackling these things, which have already been tackled, some of them to a great degree, some of them to a lesser degree, but ultimately it will improve the district. And I know that's what the board wants to have. Good controls, be able to represent to the community, hey, we've got good processes, good controls, and if there's a rumor out there about some issue that the board does then, understand that and work with the superintendent and then we'll work to ensure that those issues are resolved. So that's just what I wanted to sort of wrap it up, that none of these are insurmountable. I think the capital asset thing is probably the one that needs the most work and probably will take some time to resolve that. But the other ones, I think that you can get those resolved within either this fiscal year, audit that in 40 days, a year or so, or in the next fiscal year. But we would note the progress made as part of the audit. So I'll turn it back over to the board and to any questions that we might be able to answer here.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Rob.
In years past, the auditor would send the board an email to ask us if we had heard of any fraud or we thought there was fraud going on. Do you guys do that?
We do that. I think we probably work more with the board president, but we should do that. We can do that with all the board members.
Thank you.
For myself, after reviewing these audit findings, several of these were self-reported and most go back many years. 10 audit findings does seem daunting, but I commend all who are involved to help identify these and work towards correcting these to help improve Las Vegas City schools. So thank you for all the work you've done. Like I said, 10 audit findings, you hear that. And I know it's a lot of work on your behalf, but we can't fix what we don't identify. So thank you for the work that you did, and thanks to Ms. Sandoval and Ms. Gonzalez, Ms. Peterson, everybody to help this process so again we can improve this district. So thank you again for your work.
Thank you, and I appreciate the collaboration. that we've had in this process, because sometimes you come into a governmental entity and you just push back and say, no, that's not really the problem, we're not going to fix that, or, you know, but they've been, management's been fully transparent, and as mentioned, a couple of these findings were really, the genesis of the finding was self-reported. We dug into that area and said, oh yeah, there is some opportunity to correct the situation, whether it's to ensure that better compliance or better internal control structure. So I think that the collaboration and the back and forth has been invaluable, and you know, I think that I have confidence in the superintendent and Vanessa and others to, you know, work on these and get these resolved. And as things come up, and they will come up, and you will notice other issues probably as you go along, and looking at the internal control structure or the self-reporting. Don't be afraid to do that, because that'll make you a better district.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Superintendent, what would be your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 24-25 audit report.
I'll make a motion to accept the audit as presented.
I have a motion by Dr. Good. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Dr. Mazur. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Dr. Mazur.
Thank you.
Good night. Safe travels. All right. Next item on our agenda is new business item A, 5-year facilities master plan, review and approval. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Chair, with us tonight is Ms. Colleen Martinez from Visions and Planning to present an overview of the facilities master plan that you guys have had for a couple of months now, so she can talk a little bit about it.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and superintendent. I'm going to just do a general overview of the facility master plan and talk a little bit of, a little bit about what it is, why does it need to be done, as well as its purpose. Next slide. Okay, so the 5-year facility master plan is a roadmap for the district in regards to facilities that the district will operate and maintain over the next, well into the future. It outlines the district's goals, priorities, strategies for maintaining, upgrading, potential consolidating or expanding school buildings and support facilities, along with financial considerations of how do you come up with the capital outlay money to do all of that. And this is a living document, so it can be updated over the next 5 years if needed. If something catastrophic happens or something on facilities, the board does have the ability to reorder any of those priorities as needed. Why it needs to be done, it also has to do with schools needing to be safe, efficient, and meet changing enrollment needs across the district, as well as educational program needs, while making the best use of available funding, including the eligibility for state and other capital outlay monies. And then the purpose is to guide decisions about repairs, upgrades, facility replacements, new construction, demolition, any potential consolidations of such. And that's pretty standard for every school district across the state. It is required by state statute to be completed every 5 years, and in order to be eligible for any capital outlay monies. So in order to get that funding for like the new combined intermediate, middle school, you have to have a 5-year master plan in place in order to qualify for those funding. Next slide. So when we look at the community, the city of Las Vegas, population as of 2025, approximately 12,493. Population within the city of Las Vegas has been on a decline for a long time. The largest population is back in 2000 when it was a little over 15,500. And so you can see the significant significant decline in population decline in any small community. You know, just even looking at approximately 3,000 people over 25 years, you can see the direct correlation in regards to businesses in town, to school enrollments, to housing, any potential new construction and opportunities as well when you have a declining population. The population growth is in the negatives right now and is expected to continue to decline at a very slow rate. This could be turned around in the future. I mean, that does come back to city leadership, county leadership in terms of economic development, new housing, you know, all of those little things that draw people to the community. You know, our average household size across the city is 2.26, so it's very small. Median home value is about $197,723, and that's just the median. You know, you do have big places that are less and higher. Median age is also 42.5, so when we look at the median age being on the higher scale, you know, with women in their 40s, you're having fewer and fewer children, which then results into lower enrollment. That decline in population not only impacts the Las Vegas city schools, but it also impacts West Las Vegas as well, because we share a lot of the same community. Median family income is $54,865, but one of the things that you start to see here when you look at the age mix, only 18.3% of the population is under 18, and that 18.3% is what you share with West. So there's not a lot of kids going around in between all the schools. Age mix, looking at 18 to 64, we have the largest population at 57.9, and we do have a very large population on the 65 plus. When you look at population, you want it to be the inverse, where you have that higher, or the 65 plus that 23.8, you really want that on your 18 and under side. So it's kind of, you've got a definite aging population. When we look at average family size, we're looking at 2.82 for San Miguel County. We're able to look at what this number is specifically for the school district, and we're at 2.67. So for every couple, you're getting less than one child. I mean, and I know when we really look at that, you know, some people have 4 or 5, but you do have more people having one child than multiples at this point. Next slide. So looking at enrollment, over the past 10 years, overall enrollment has declined by 35.9%. It's been a significant number. With the middle school seeing the largest drop of 41.7%, and elementary school has declined 35.2%. Along with the high school enrollment has also had a steep decline at 34%. Again, these can largely be attributed to lower birth rates, families moving out of the area for, you know, economic reasons, and then the availability of alternative education options. You know, you do have West right here within the community. You have online instruction options where parents can enroll their students into online school or homeschool them. So that pool of students is getting a lot smaller. When we look at projected enrollment is projected at the elementary level to continue to decline over the next 5 years. An additional, I think I can't remember what I have up there, 20%. And then when we look at the middle school's got a very weird enrollment projection because there is a large 4th and 5th grade class that's going to hit. So you're going to have like a little peak. It's going to drop real low, and then in 5 years, it's basically going to be where it is today. So it's kind of a zero growth on that or decline. Robertson High School enrollment is going to see a decline because as we have smaller middle school enrollment, that's going to directly impact high school enrollment, and that is also going to see the decline. So what we're looking at is overall enrollment is projected to decline slowly from the 1,013 as of the 40-day count this year to 936 in 5 years on 2030-31. And there's other things that can impact that over the next 5 years. Again, if there was some sort of economic development to bring people in, you know, you could see a boost. But you know, as more and more families, as the economy gets tighter and tighter, people may need to leave in order to be able to survive economically. Next slide. This is good. I changed this graphic yesterday on my printout. It shows it duplicated. And I'm like, I thought I was getting fancy to fix it and messed it up. So when we look at school capacity, again, school capacity is directly related to our enrollment, and we want to make sure that schools are filled and utilized, you know, to their best potential. And so when we look at the schools across the district, Mike Mateo, which does have just a very flat enrollment pattern for more than 15 plus years, because we did work on the previous master plan, so that enrollment has been pretty flat. Consistent number of students. The school's got a functional capacity of 82. However, the school's really only utilized to 58%, and the enrollment this year was 55. So when you kind of look at that discrepancy of how many kids it can hold, even though it's a small school, you do have areas that aren't used fully. And then when we look at Los Niños Elementary, it has a functional capacity of 379. It's utilized at 82%. Enrollment this year was 303. Again, as we went through the facility, not only on the utilization form that was filled out, but also on our walkthrough, we did see areas of the school that just aren't being used. And it's just purely student-driven at this point. You don't have enough enrollment, you don't have, some classrooms will not be used. Sierra Vista has a functional capacity currently at 296. It had a little bit better utilization at 87% with an enrollment of 228. I do want to kind of preface that the state looks at trying to have 90 to 95% utilization for elementary schools. So you can see pretty much across the board we are significantly below that. When we look at Memorial Middle School, and I'm looking at the capacity specifically of the areas on the high school campus that is used by the middle school and scheduled for the middle school. We have 185 students with the enrollment of 147. It had a utilization of 76%. While the high school, the remainder portion of the high school has a capacity of 465. It had a utilization of 72% with an enrollment at 280. When we went through the high school, there were several classrooms that are empty and not being used. And when we look at middle schools, we're trying to get in that 75 to 85%, kind of that sweet spot is 80% utilization. You know, you're going to have classes naturally that are not fully loaded to what PED Max says at 27 or 30, but at least the classroom's being used as a teaching environment, not as office spaces, which is something we see across the state sometimes. When classrooms aren't used, they become somebody's office. And when they get upset if that classroom is ever needed again, then it has to be put back in service. So it is something we definitely see. Next slide. So looking at the facility conditions, we actually have 5 schools, not 40. I think I was looking at 2 different things as I was writing. 3 elementary schools, pre-K through 5, with 129,661 total square feet between all 3 school facilities. Middle school with the component that is currently at the high school at 21,158, and the remainder of the high school at 152,057. So total educational square footage is 302,876 square feet that the district operates and maintains. And then the district has several facilities across the district that are district owned and no longer used for educational use. You do have central office here, you have the maintenance shops. Legion Park right now is still in the books, as well as Silas Lopez Early Childhood Center, which is used for other programs. That totals 189,184 square feet for a combined total of 492,060 square feet that the district operates and maintains. I think some of this is going to get a little easier on that operations and maintenance once that new school facility comes online, and you have the intermediate school with the middle school combined at an appropriately sized facility. One of the things that we did do this year, as well as the previous master plan, we did do a walkthrough of each and every facility, inside, outside roofs, site as part of our process. We also looked at classrooms in terms of adequacy, do they meet state adequacy standards? We did look at safety and security, accessibility, and we did provide each individual school with a listing of capital improvement needs across the board, along with maintenance needs, because you can't just walk by something that's maintenance and not at least documented. So we provide that information to the district so that work orders could be generated. Next slide. So looking at facility age as a snapshot, currently right now, the oldest elementary school is Mike Mateo. It was constructed in 1953. It's 73 years old. It is starting to really show its age significantly. You have the other two elementary schools. Los Niños did have renovation, 2019 and an addition. It was built in 89, while the other school, sister school, Sierra Vista, was built in 87. So, those are in their 40s now. When we think about that, are right at the 40-year mark. So it's hard to conceive that buildings built in the 50s are at 70 years old. It doesn't compute anymore. Memorial Middle School is 63 years old, while high school is 68. With the main academic building being built in like 1949. So the two-story building. And then you have McFarland Hall, which is actually even a little older, but in the late 30s. Next slide. Looking at general capital improvement needs, we did go through and look at site perimeter fencing, parent pickup and drop off, walkways, sidewalks, drainage, landscaping, exterior lighting, dumpster enclosures, signage. One of the things we did make note of, many campuses have damaged or aging fencing that needs repair, especially when you look at Mike Mateo. Parking lots and drop-off lanes show deterioration. So while Los Niños has gotten that fixed, it's a nightmare at the high school. When you look at parent pickup and drop-off for both the middle school and the high school. And then, again, painting and stuff at Mike Mateo. Some of that was repaired several years ago. There's still needs there. I do want to add to this that we did compare our previous assessments to the current assessments, and a lot of the capital improvement needs have not been addressed. And I know that is just a simple matter of not having enough money at the moment to take care of those. So we did check off a lot of things that we saw previously versus this last round of assessments. Again, looking at playgrounds, landscaping, exterior lighting is inadequate. A lot of the outdoor exterior lighting needs LED upgrades with daylight sensors. That would also help improve safety as well as reduce operational costs if they're on that daylight sensor, so they automatically come on when it gets dark and they shut off when it becomes daylight, and nobody has to remember to flip a switch. And then site signage is also problematic. Next slide. And so that's pretty much like the exterior site stuff. Again, we looked at the exterior building and interior needs. Looking at exterior joints, stucco system showing widespread cracking and need repairs, masonry walls require tuck pointing and repairs, as well as structural issues. There was a structural report done back in 2016 based upon the assessments we completed at that time. None of those repairs have been completed, and if anything, they appear to have gotten somewhat worse because I can go back and look at and compare pictures of what we took back then in 2015-16 to this year. Classroom roof systems at many sites are at or past their lifespan. There's leaks and deterioration. Classroom and lab casework is outdated or damaged and needs replacement. I think specifically of the science labs at the high school. When we talk about that, interior doors and car doors require security upgrades, including lever handles. There's still a lot of the round knob handles, meaning that they're not ADA compliant. Flooring in some classrooms and corridors is worn and damaged. Lighting systems are outdated, they need to be upgraded to LED. Restrooms need renovation, including ADA, and plumbing and sewer lines, because a lot of the stuff with these buildings at this age, a lot of that plumbing is under the slab, and you might renovate the restroom, but you didn't fix one of the bigger problems when it comes to the water and sewer lines. HVAC also is at or beyond the end of life, causing inefficiency and poor energy efficiency as well. And then fire alarm and intercom systems, specifically at the high school, are also problematic. Next slide. So working with the district, we developed 2 options, and they're included in your facility master plan. And they do include replacement of the high school as part of that. Option 1 also includes the replacement of Mike Mateo Elementary as well. We wanted to put that option on the table because if the board does choose to pursue that, if it's not in your master plan, it's an option for you all to consider. It can't be brought to the table. So we wanted to make sure that the board has flexibility of, you know, in option 2, what it just takes to renovate that versus what it takes to replace it. So that's the difference in the cost, is really the replacement of Mike Mateo. The replacement of the high school is also recommended in option 2 as well. So looking at option 1, we're sitting at about $174.5 million. Construction costs are very high right now. We're in the 600s just for construction. So every year that's just going to get a little bit more as part of that. So, and then option 2, and these are broken down by some of the building system areas in terms of technology, you know, educational furnishings. That's one of the things we did see in some areas, that the furniture really needs to be replaced. And, you know, fire sprinkler systems, lighting upgrades, all of those are accounted for and broken down by building system. Option 2 is a little bit less at $163.9 million. And again, you know, looking at these projects, you know, it is a lot of money. The district is fortunate it can qualify it for state funding assistance, eventually here on the high school, as well as Mike Mateo. I think Mike Mateo's in the top 100 for funding, as well as the high school. But you got to kind of get past the first one that you're constructing to be able to move on to the next one. Next slide. Just looking at how these break down in between what the needs are, option 1, option 2. There are some needs at Los Niños of about 1.160, 102, and some of that also includes drainage improvements that, you know, still need to be made that there wasn't enough budget for, but with the removal and demolition eventually of Sierra Vista there, you know, there's a lot of uncontrolled drainage that comes downhill from west to east, down region and all those areas onto that site that there's no way to mitigate, because the first place it needs to be mitigated is at the city level, and that's probably not going to happen. So with the removal of and demolition of Sierra Vista, once the new school is constructed, there is an opportunity to kind of address that drainage in a portion of that area, as well as potentially construct new maintenance facilities and stuff. It gives a whole different ability of that site to work with that, as well as some of the minor projects that weren't done as part of that renovation. In addition, like classroom casework was not replaced, and there's just other minor issues around that, you know, still need to be done, but those would be considered more of a low priority, although the drainage would be high once that building is demolished. Looking at Sierra Vista Memorial, we're at a budget of about $66,352,000, And I think the district has already gotten approval for the design process, which is already ongoing. And once that's completed, they will go back and request the construction funding. And I think you're going to get a waiver for a portion of that as well. Then when we look at Mike Mateo, we've got close to $8 million in needs of renovations out at that campus. I mean, just looking at the fencing of what that's going to cost for that site is pretty significant, as well as some of the other issues that are occurring there. And then the replacement is just a little more than that at $18.5 million. And again, that will be a decision the board will need to make of which direction to go once you're able to proceed with funding, most likely out of your next bond election, because you'll have to be considering that school as well as the high school. And then the high school replacement cost right now is about $71.5 million. And that is going to be tricky because they're going to have to do a phased construction on that site, take one building down, move kids over. You know, currently the old patio building that's used for middle school needs to be retained because you're going to need to put kids in there while they tear down different places. So it's going to be a shuffle game unless the district considers a different site, which I don't know if any of that would be possible.
Maybe Sierra Vista if we don't demolish it right away.
And that is also another thing, you can put some of those kids in. It just is going to be a transportation, CTE, I mean, you'll have a lot of issues regarding that. But phased construction, definitely on that site, I did look at it, it is possible, it just have to be done carefully. Contractors do it all the time. It just, you know, you just move kids over to one building. You know, I think one of the big issues will be needing margin and some of those other things, and if they're removed from that site, it might be a little bit difficult to do that. And then looking at district facilities, $16.7 million is needed. And that includes a new maintenance facility at the Sierra Vista site. It includes repairs to this building as a historic building. It does have repairs that need to be done, as well as some of the other district facilities. And next slide. So when we look at how some of this gets paid for, right now there was 1.2 million remaining from the 21 GO bond that's being applied to Sierra Vista, as well as monies from the current 2025 bond. The district does receive SB 9. It gets $720,000 approximately annually, and it gets a match from the state at $230,000. So that gives you, you know, a budget of SB 9 for maintenance and small projects at $950,000 a year. The only thing that could happen that I'm concerned about is SB 9 revenue could go down if more people move away. So that is kind of one of those double-edged swords right there. You might have money now, but you might not have it later. And then looking towards a 29 bond, approximately the same amount, $12 million. Again, that's going to be dependent on assessed valuation at that time. And then right now the district qualifies for 49% state match. This is also something that can change annually. It could work more in your favor or less in your favor. It just depends on how they calculate all of that. And just looking at the detailed capital plans, it just breaks this out. Looking at the district's first priority was the Sierra Vista Memorial, followed by Robertson High School, Mike Mateo, and then those Los Niños upgrades. And then looking at a new maintenance warehouse and transportation facility at Sierra Vista, as well as the central office renovation as one of the lowest priorities. That's where we do get to that $174 million. Looking at out of that with the district share of that 174 is about $95,100,000 when we look at that, because some of those projects will be eligible for state funding assistance. And then option 2, again back at that 163 million, the same exact priorities with the difference of Mike Mateo renovation as part of this, and then the district's responsibility for this would be $89,684,000 approximately. And next slide. If you have any questions, hopefully I have all the answers.
President.
Yes, Mr. Rock.
Ms. Martinez. A few meetings ago, Superintendent Sandoval presented us with maybe a map of what we could rearrange the high school, where the high school's at. Would there be an option there, maybe putting a central office building there instead of renovating this old building?
In one of the buildings at the high school?
Or even a separate, it looked like there was going to be some open space there, and one of those maps, maybe
Yeah.
just build this building for a central office.
So one of the, I think the examples that was given, or samples that was given was where the current maintenance shop was at, that there would be a potential scenario of building a smaller central office.
My thought process on that is you're still going to have transportation issues when that becomes a high school solely one again. And you're not necessarily going to be, if you have central office there with people coming and going and the public, it may not be as, you still may have more traffic problems. That would be my only concern with that site.
Although if we did it, the old maintenance part, maybe traffic could come in through where Paul D. Henry was. Now that's taken off.
Right, and that would be a little bit costly to construct that, just as a consideration.
I just don't know if that'd be any, I mean, I know renovating isn't as expensive sometimes as building new, but I just...
It would always be an option as that is a lower priority that can kind of come back up around in the next master plan as an option of what to do with that. Because I think one of the things the district has to get through is what does it look like once that high school campus is replaced, and how is it going to take up the current site? Because you don't need facilities of the size you have.
No.
We did identify renovations for our gym. That would be one of the buildings on that campus that would be kept. And that building has a lot of issues.
So according to this report, it looks like maybe we should have paid attention more to Mike Mateo and the high school before trying to renovate the old middle school, because they seem to be older and more in need.
I think it had to do with the fact of the current award for Sierra Vista and not losing that availability of money, and then combining that up with trying to get those kids into a different environment. In the long run, I do believe that it will help the high school because it will free up all the classrooms that the current high school is using, or the middle school is using. So those kids that, as you replace those buildings on the high school campus, they can float into that. There's several classrooms in the patio building, in the CTE building that are general education. So you would be able to relocate the high school kids once the middle schoolers are out. So that does kind of work in their favor as part of that.
Mr. President, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it looking at the plan when they were looking at the lighting, wasn't one of the proposals to move all of transportation to a different area where they were having a complete parking lot change to, wasn't it to Sierra Vista area? Or someplace where transportation wasn't even going to be where it was currently at. It was going to be completely different, where they were going to move to a whole different area. It was going to be completely different. So that wouldn't even have been an area where they would have been involved, where they were looking at moving the administration.
Correct, and I think that's what Mr. Romero was mentioning, was that there was that consideration of moving transportation. I mean, then I think Sierra Vista's property may be large enough even to, I mean, if that's not an option, you have space still there in that area.
Right, and in priority number 5, which is district maintenance and transportation, we do show it moving to the Sierra Vista site together.
I know you mentioned, of course, this building is on the historic registry, but is McFarland Hall or any other?
As far as my research has shown, that building is specifically not as standalone as it, but it is located within a historic district. So I think we have to, go through and look at where does that district stop and begin within that area. And so there may be implications surrounding that. And, you know, in a lot of cases, sometimes if you come back with a building that matches some of that same architecture, in keeping with that historic components, there is options also for that. It's not unheard of, you know, because school facilities get dated and that building itself has lots of significant structural issues that I'm not sure that can fully be repaired. And so that would have to be taken in consideration by the historic preservation as part of that, that would be a problem that once it gets funded and moves to design, that would have to be evaluated at that moment for that. But we did look, it's not specifically, but that doesn't mean that it isn't covered, because we've worked in other school districts where building wasn't, but it was covered because it was in a historic district.
Thank you.
And this building is,
You even have a plaque outside. You even have a plaque outside.
I've never seen it. Where the post office.
Any other questions from the board? No questions? Well, again, thank you for your time. I know it's a lot of work, it's a lot of information. Now as we start our new projects, we have Middle School Sierra Vista build. It's exciting to be part of these projects, so thank you for the work that you do to help us move these projects down the road and give us a long-term visual of it's kind of nice to dream and know, okay, we have a plan. And it's one thing to dream, but when you have a plan in place and you work towards that, it certainly gives you that roadmap that we need. So thank you for your work.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. And I am happy to see that some of the projects that we have are addressing some of the needs that we have here, the lighting and so on. So there's work that we're progressing. So with that, PSFA has already accepted and approved the facilities master plan. So it is, I guess I would need to ask for your acceptance and approval.
I do have a question. Do we have to decide right now option 1 or option 2?
No, that is to give you flexibility. Down the road, you can choose, but if it's not there as an option, it doesn't exist.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. With that, I will make a motion to approve and accept the 5-year facility master plan as presented.
Mr. President, can I make an addendum to that
Motion?
motion, please? With the correction of the 40 to 5. Where you have 40 buildings and it's only 5?
Oh, that's just in the presentation.
Okay, all right.
So I have a motion by Dr. Blea to accept and approve the 5-year facilities master plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Romero. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you again for all your work.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Next item on our agenda, new business, is item D, 2026-2027 Fine Arts Education Application.
Mr. Chair, members, this is a pretty quick one. We do receive an annual allocation for the Fine Arts Education Grant. It is based off of student membership. So we are asking for you this evening is just approval of that application.
Mr. President?
To get the assurance assigned.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Romero.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the fine arts education application.
Motion by Mr. Romero. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Dr. Blea. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion to approve the application passes. Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is the Capital Outlay Committee assignment. If you give me just a second, I just want to briefly read the policy on this. When any standing committee is formed, its members shall be appointed by the president and confirmed by majority vote of the board. The duties and responsibilities of any standing committee shall be determined by the board prior to the beginning of this work. So with that, I would like to ask if we have any interest, first off, before we make any nominations, in being part of the Capital Outlay Committee.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Is there any way we can table this to the next board meeting so that all the board members are present and can decide if they want to be on the committee? Is it a pressing matter right now? We haven't had a capital meeting in like 2 to 3 years.
No, I mean, it's not pressing. The reason I bring this to the table now, is because we're going to begin the construction project. We're going to be going over RFPs coming up in late June. So, I mean, it's not pressing. We can bring it back in June if you'd like. But I think that, let's say first semester last year, a former president, Mr. Quintana, used to attend the capital meetings that we have. So I think it would behoove someone to sit in as we begin to move forward. Within the next month.
I just don't know if Mrs. Gonzalez would be interested in being on that committee.
Do you want to make a motion, Mr. Romero?
Yes, I can make a motion that we table it.
I have a motion by Mr. Romero to table item E, capital outlay committee assignment. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Dr. Blea. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will, all in favor of tabling this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Capital outlay committee assignment has been tabled. So next item on our agenda is the first reading of policies, of course, items F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and N. As a first reading, they're all first readings, so I would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of new business items F through N.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Mr. President,
Yes, Dr. Missouri.
in reference to policy G, and well, item G, public participation in board meetings, first reading. In the first reading, I think that this had already been a first reading. We already had a first reading on this one. I think that this is a second reading on this one. Also, in reference to this, I think that we had a previous discussion in reference to the amount of minutes. There had been a previous discussion that's to the time limit. We had discussed it being 3 minutes as we had indicated on the form. And it still indicates on the policy that it's up to 10 minutes. And then also we need to put a notification in there that it is not allowable for somebody in the audience to say, I'm giving up my time to another speaker.
Right. So the current policy update does include those two changes. Right, Ms. Animal?
Correct. They should. So what I did with all of these first readings was based off of the discussions that we had. So they were necessarily first readings. But what I did was I took all the recommended corrections for all of these policies and embedded all of the recommended changes, removed names and so on. I did make some adjustments based off of recommendation from legal counsel, and that one in particular is that, for example, that time could not be ceded to other individuals, so they would have more time and so on. So those are all of the first readings. And then, if I may, for the graduation policy, that one is an update to the current law as it exists, and then adding the two board-approved courses that we talked about in the last meeting and that were approved. So, again, these are all, so they were discussed, but they were not necessarily formally presented as a first reading.
So these are all officially first readings of all examples. Okay. Yes, thank you, Dr. Missouri, because yes, there was a part that we adjust those two time limits on the.
Okay, so then, because I couldn't see them, I guess on my thing, on letter L, where it says name of facilities, is there a correction on there that would indicate instead of I can't see on my glasses.
The only recommendation that I got from the last meeting was to change it from his to their, to gender neutral.
Okay, yeah, and yes, okay, that's it.
Any other questions? Okay, so now for that, so do I have a motion to approve first readings?
You got it.
Oh, we already have a motion.
I'll second.
Second by Dr. Glea. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item on our agenda this evening is our student report. Miss.
May is an extremely chaotic month with the end-of-year celebrations, testing, graduations, and so much more. As this is my last board report of my term, so being a student board representative, I visited schools for the last time to gather concerns and wants. My time in this position has been incredible and very influential. It has been a very enlightening experience to see concerns, opinions, and thoughts from all age groups. Each time I walk into a classroom, the kids are excited to see me and have so many things to tell me. I am extremely grateful I was elected to this position and was able to be part of changes made. At Mike Mateo for Needs, I have a working intercom which was discussed earlier, and it could be a benefit for overall and classes, and it's also important for safety reasons and range for emergency services, as well as a convenience for office staff to teacher communication. Requests are from students are shaped for pickup and bus areas and student IDs. At Los Niños for concerns, I had a lot of concerns about bullying. An idea that we had came up with the students is maybe a box that students could go put a sticky note or something saying what they want or what's going on, so they don't have to go to a trusted adult. And maybe if they're scared or they don't want their friends to see them going and talking to someone, along with bullying presentations. Students want reduced drawing on walls outside and in restrooms, and some sort of system where they can check out things to relieve stress, which would be like something like Mitos. Requests there as well are also shaped for pickup at parents and bus pickup, and different material for the playground. Item I discussed with them was tire bits, and then at Sierra Vista, the only concern I had was cleaner water. Requests was extracurricular activities and sports. I think they want to be more like a middle school and high school in the sense of being able to compete in different activities, as well as field trips. And I had a lot of questions regarding middle school and high school from the 6th graders at Sierra Vista. I was unable to visit Memorial, but I did go through my last reports and texted a few of the people I knew. They had a successful 8th grade prom, and they want vending machines like the high school. At Robertson High School, we got a few new security guards, so there's less skipping class, and there's less chaos in the parking lot for students. There's not people going 70 miles trying to leave for lunch. We had a successful off-campus prom, I believe it the first time in quite a few years, and then the class of 2026 graduates tomorrow. As far as concerns bathroom cleanliness and efficient locks, there is more bathrooms at lock now. And then overall with Las Vegas City Schools, more trees, and I thought maybe it could be a district-wide event like to promote Earth Day next year, salad bars, and snacks in classrooms. And that is all I have for my big report.
Ms. Garcia, any questions? Hearing no questions, being this is your last meeting, I just want to say again, thank you for being so thorough, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I know there's several meetings where you had to sit and wait for us to get to your report. But I know a lot of your concerns have been addressed by Ms. Sandoval and the team and administration, and we wanted to know those concerns if you hadn't brought them. So thank you for being thorough, thank you for all your hard work, and congratulations on another successful year, and good luck with your senior year. Thank you again.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thanks. And enjoy your summer.
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you again. Next item on our agenda is superintendent report. Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chair, I just want to highlight a couple of items on my report. I do want to let you know that we did have a pre-proposal meeting with architects and engineering firms wishing to submit a proposal.
Their deadline for submission for this RFP is June 8th. We have received some questions and will be providing our response according to deadline early next week, which is on Tuesday. So this project is underway, and the recommended time frame or estimated time frame is that Sierra Vista Elementary and Memorial Middle School will be completed by September of 2030. So we have some time. The planning and design will be 1 year, so again, estimated time of completion will be September of this coming school year with the 2-year hybrid work construction. The summit, fortunately, we were able, I think I mentioned this last time, we were able to pay off the outstanding debt. We finally received yesterday access to Workforce Solutions because the employees that were in the system are no longer with us, so we didn't have access to that. We will need to enter the wage decision, so we should get that done within the next week or two. I'm sorry, not week or two, next couple of days. And then we will have Summit on site, and they should complete the fire panel project at Robertson and Memorial Middle School within a 3-week period. Energy X is installing the lights throughout the campus. As you can see in this particular area, the lights have already been changed. They have some, I believe Sierra Vista is the last school that they need to be in Robertson. And then they have the gymnasiums where they need to bring in the lifts. But other than that, they should be done before middle of June. And engineers have already been here. They are designing the solar panels. They are looking at getting those installed this summer also. With regards to capital improvements across the district, we are already getting quotes. Even though they are CES, I do want to shop around for best price. So we are looking at fencing for Mike Mateo already. We are looking at some, and I'm not sure what the official term is, because I'm not a maintenance or construction person, but like regulators for the heaters at Robertson, because sometimes they're like super hot or cold, or they range within those wings. So we're trying to get those fixed. And then also some consideration, and it's not on the list, but in my opinion, it is a priority, and I would like to bring this to the board. Because we are in a drought, and because of, in my opinion, water conservation and man hours that are used to stripe the soccer fields and the football fields, is to consider turfing the football field and having a combo soccer football field turf. I don't know what, again, the terminology, I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I do have Mr. Gonzalez getting some quotes, and I would like to bring that to the board within the next week or two, perhaps in a special meeting for a couple of vendors that we have already worked or spoken to. We do have assurance that they would be done with the installation before football season would begin. And they're ranging between 1.1 million and 1.2.
How are you planning to put this field?
Not the field, it would be just to replace the
So you said football, soccer.
Oh, so they can, the turf can be lined, if you will, for both soccer and football.
Just like I just don't know if that, I don't know if that area, we gotta find out if that area is big enough to have a soccer field. Because soccer is bigger than football.
Yeah, it is, or at least the contractors that have come in, or the vendors that have come in to look at it have indicated that it is long enough.
And I believe there's some studies that show more injuries on turf than on natural turf.
We're looking into everything, but again, those would be one of the dollar amounts that we're looking at. And if I may transition into that next piece we have worked with Stifel.
Sorry, real quickly, sorry, Superintendent Sample, I don't want you to get too far. Also, make sure the width as well, and it doesn't impact the track.
Right.
That's the issue we had at Highlands, hence why our soccer, women's soccer team plays on the.
Okay.
There wasn't enough distance between the sideline and the track.
Yeah.
So, no, before the NCAA rules, and that's why we have, Highlands had to use our field.
Okay, we'll make sure we get verification before we invest in anything. Yep, absolutely.
That's kind of narrow.
Okay, yeah, we'll double check everything and make sure that it's within compliance and if it's something that is reasonable, again, that is something that I think would be nice to have in the long term. I think it pays for itself with regards to time and efficiency. However, before we do that, I do want to make sure that we have operable HVAC systems in our schools and so on. So, where we have the 7-8 hour day that it is conducive for learning. But that being said, Ms. Gonzalez and I met with Stifel, and we are set to do a bond sale. So this next meeting, we will be reading a resolution for review and approval. And then estimated time will be for September 11th to do the close of the transaction and funding. And what we are looking at are selling the bonds, the 12 million in 3 cycles, so the 3 at 4 million. So this would be our first cycle. We do have some GEO bonds already available, and we have a list of projects that we need to pay out. One, of course, would be Summit Fire to finish that project out. We have the lighting and solar project that we're paying out. We have the engineering phase 1 for Memorial Middle School. So all of that comes out to about $8.5 million. We do have that sitting available for us right now. So we're looking at for example, the football field would be out of the next cycle of course, paying out the phase 1, if you will, with the new dollars. So we do have a plan in place for that. The next big one is Legion Elementary. We did have five different organizations or individuals express interest. Of those 5, we did walkthroughs with 3. However, and unfortunately, we have 0 offers as of today.
What's the appraised value of that? I don't remember.
We did not appraise it based off of the recommendation of legal counsel. Would be to wait to get an offer and then to proceed with an appraisal on ours. So yeah, there is no formal appraisal on that property as of yet.
Is that the way we sell property? I don't know. I thought you got it appraised and that way you could ask.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if you recall, in our previous meeting, there was some recommendations.
And I believe the recommendation was to keep the district from spending unnecessary money at this point, and hoping that whoever's interested would cover the cost of that appraisal. I do believe...
Because we have to sell it at fair market value. How do we know if fair market value is if we don't have an appraisal?
Right. Well, the appraisal would be done after there's an and again, because an appraisal is good for only a year, or you would have to reauthorize. So that is where it's at. And lastly, I think, which is, in my opinion, the best news of the night, is we have secured a 4-year early childhood New Mexico pre-K grant for a little over $1.8 million for 32 slots for mixed age, 3 and 4-year-olds. So we are set to open Little Cardinal Academy in August. So I think that is great news. My understanding that this is the first time Las Vegas City Schools has got a preschool pre-K program. So we're really excited to see some little ones roaming around Los Niños Elementary this fall. So Ms. Garcia, I want to thank her for putting that grant together. We are currently advertising for our positions. We will have 2 teachers, 2 educational assistants, looking at having a part-time director to support that school as well as some of Los Niños. But again, advertising will happen. Well, we've already posted it, actually. We're already getting inquiries for that, but doors set to be open in August.
Mr. President. Madam Superintendent, how is the transportation department doing on their gas budget? Now that
We're still doing well. We'll finish the school. Yeah, we'll finish the school year. But I had already checked with PED that in the event that there was a need for emergency funding, they said that they would. Yeah, they would offer.
Before we move any further, sorry, Mr. Moore. Again, congratulations and thank you for all hard work. Having the pre-K is super exciting because, of course, as we know, enrollment has been a big issue, and as we provide this service to our community, I think it's just a very huge step in the direction we want to go towards, and helping to improve everything in this community, and education is obviously priority. So congratulations and thank you for all your work. That is a very monumental achievement, so thank you for that.
Well, if we can fill all the seats, which I believe we can, we'll have 32 new students.
Progress is progress. Thank you. Anything else on your report, Madam Superintendent?
No, sir.
All right. Next item on our agenda is executive session. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session? Do I have a second?
I'll second, but do we need to specifically state the motion? You want me to do it? I'll go if I can. I'll make a motion to go into executive session, specifically regarding item A, the Board of Education will convene in closed session pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1-H2, discussion of limited personnel matters, specifically the superintendent's contract. Item B, pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H8, discussion of the possible disposal of real property by the district, the disposition or non-renewal of a leasehold interest with San Miguel County. Item C, pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1-H7, discussion of threatened or pending litigation, specifically Las Vegas City Schools versus FEMA.
I have a motion by Dr. Leah. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Dr. Missouri. Roll call, please.
Board Member Dennis Romero?
Yes.
Board Member Mrs. Elaine Martinez-Gonzalez? Board Secretary Dr. Joyce Missouri?
Yes.
Board Vice President Dr. Kimberly Blea?
Yes.
Board President Paul Gonzalez?
Yes. We are now in executive session.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
before we move into executive session, we do have two guests to participate in executive session. We have Lama. I'm sorry, and your last name, Mr. Lama. And Mr. Castellano is here, so if we can maybe get Mr. Lama in first, since he is out of the community, and it should be quick, but
So we are now in executive session. The time is 7:22. Thanks for all your That is on. Do I have a motion to enter into closed session? I have a motion by Mr. Romero, do I have a second?
Second.
Board of Education will now convene into open session pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 1015(1)H, discussion of limited personnel matters, specifically the superintendent's contract. B, the Board of Education will convene into open session pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 1015(1), discussion of possible disposal of real property by the district, the disposition, non-renewal of a leasehold interest with San Miguel County. C, the Board of Education will convene to open session pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 1015(1)H, discussion of threatened independent litigation. We are now in open session, no action was taken. Time is 15:04.
President,
Yes, Mr.
we got a
Romero.
motion and a second, but we didn't,
Oh, I thank you, Mr. Romero. Do I, roll call to open to enter into open session? Thank you, Mr. Romero.
Board Member Dennis Romero.
Yes.
Board Member Mrs. Elaine Martinez-Gonzalez. Board Secretary Dr. Joyce Reserve.
Yes.
Board Vice President Dr. Kimberly Bland.
Yes.
Board President Paul Gonzalez.
Yes, we are now in open session. No action was taken. Next item on our agenda is discussion, action, possible discussion and vote regarding the matters listed for executive session.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to make a motion under executive session item 8 that the Board of Education approve the upcoming contract for Superintendent Sandoval for the term of July 1st, 2026 through July 28th, 2026 for a salary of $168,064 to account for the 1% legislative mandated compensation increase.
I have a motion by Dr. Blair. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Dr. Reserve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Motion passes.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion regarding item B as listed in executive session that the superintendent on behalf of the Las Vegas City School Board terminate the contract and notify in writing the San Miguel County in accordance with the lease agreement dated December 12, 2007.
I have a motion by Dr. Blair. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Romero. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on our agenda tonight is discussion action, is future planning. Item A, regular board meeting, June 18th, 2026. Everybody available for regular meeting? June
Yes.
18th?
I will do it via phone.
Your phone, but you will be available, okay. So after that is the law conference, June 4th through 6th. I believe Dr. Reserve will be going.
Yes.
I believe Elaine Gonzalez will be going. That's it. To that. Next item on our agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Romero. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. We are now adjourned. Time is 8:07.
And then you gotta turn around and come back.